The best time to plan for commissioning is right at the beginning of your project, at the same time that planning for design and construction are taking place. But let's face it, that doesn't always happen. Projects are busy, there's lots of things going on, and everybody's focused on the immediate tasks of design and construction, and commissioning planning gets deferred until later in the project. So then the second best time to plan for commissioning is right now. What's the best method to plan for commissioning last minute? Listen to this episode, and I'll show you how.
You're listening to the Industrial Commissioning Association podcast, where we discuss best practices for industrial plant process and energy system commissioning. Get ready to say no to outdated industry norms and say yes to improved project performance. Here's your host, Paul Turner.
So the reality is projects are busy and commissioning doesn't always get planned at the beginning like it should. Project teams often find themselves with commissioning approaching quickly, maybe only 5 or 6 months away, and then they start realizing, man, we better start planning for commissioning. And they recognize they're running out of time. They've got to get some things done fast. So what's the best way to plan for late stage commissioning? There's 9 things that you need to do, and I'll go through each one of them. So the first one is you need to systematize your project. It's very likely that the project team has been working with the project WBS that was originally structured at the beginning of the project, but that doesn't necessarily align with the subsystems and systems for how the project will be started up during commissioning and startup. So there is a process required to systematize your project. So what does that mean? Systematization means taking all the activities in your project. Let's say, for example, there's 30,000 activities, and grouping those into what would be a functional system, a group of equipment that functions together to perform one intended input to your overall plant process. That system includes all the tagged pieces of equipment that would be required for that system to function and all the documentation required to support that system. We go through all the activities and all the tagged pieces of equipment on the project and create groups of these items to basically chunk the project into these groups of tasks and deliverables, and then call each one of those a system that will work with the construction groups to hand over in a particular sequence. Once systematization is complete, then the second task to do is develop your mechanical completion packages. So a mechanical completion package will be that definition of what makes up each system. Your mechanical completion package will list out all the tagged pieces of equipment, all the related documentation, all of the maintenance records, quality inspections, quality dockets from construction groups, ITPs completed, everything that's required from a documentation standpoint that supports that group of equipment. That defines your mechanical completion package. You'll have a list of several different mechanical completion packages on your project, each one of them forming a subsystem or system of the project that will then build up until you build the entire plant process into one functional plant system. Once you've systematized your project and developed your mechanical completion packages, your third activity is to discuss with your construction groups and negotiate when they can complete each of these packages. And this definitely will be a negotiation, because if this isn't already defined in your contracts, then construction groups have likely determined their own sequence in how they're going to finish the work. And that doesn't necessarily align with how the systems are going to be commissioned and started up to achieve your project in service date. So it's definitely a negotiation. Some of your requests they may be able to accommodate, but others, because construction is quite late, they may not be able to accommodate because it's really going to put some of their work out of sequence. Regardless, that negotiation will have to take place between construction groups and commissioning groups to come to an agreement on when each of these mechanical completion packages can be complete and in what sequence. Once your mechanical completion dates are agreed to for each system, the next task to do is to select your commissioning software and get it all set up. With the definition we've just created in the previous 3 steps of systematizing and creating our mechanical completion packages with dates, this gets loaded into our commissioning software to define how the project is systematized and the sequence of when each of these subsystems can be turned over from construction. There's several commissioning software packages to choose from. The last time I counted, there's about 27 on the market. So reviewing each of those and determining the one that's best for your projects is your first task, and then configuring that software with your project specific details so that your software is ready to go and track each subsystem through your gated commissioning workflows. Your fifth task to complete is to prepare your checklists. Now, if you get the right commissioning software package, a lot of the software systems already have checklists that are built in for a lot of the typical equipment. How a bump test was done for a motor 20, 30 years ago is exactly the same as it's done today. That checklist is well known, and a lot of those common checklists will already exist in your commissioning software package if you get the right one. Checklists will exist for valves, for instrumentation, for pumps, for motors, for exhaust fans, HVAC equipment, all of the balance of plant and life safety systems, all of your electrical equipment, breakers, transformer checks, all the common electrical, mechanical pieces of equipment will likely have a checklist that already exists if you select the right commissioning software package. So that makes it a lot simpler to develop your checklists that you're going to need to go through pre-commissioning. Now, if you're not using a commissioning software, then you're going to have to go write all those checklists on your own. You're going to have to develop checklists maybe that you've used from past projects, or start from scratch with O&M manuals and start writing out the checklists you need for each piece of equipment. There can be a lot of work required to prepare checklists if you're not already starting with templates from commissioning software. Your checklists are used for pre-commissioning. Now, when you get into system level testing during commissioning, you'll be following a commissioning procedure. So the sixth step you'll need to do is to write your commissioning procedures defining how you're going to be testing each system and subsystem on your project. This will require you to review your process control narrative and develop procedures to exercise all normal operating modes, all fault conditions, so that you can exercise all the various operating conditions of your plant process to confirm everything functions correctly as a system. Now that you've got a lot of your documentation ready, your checklists and your procedures, your seventh task will be to hire and train your team. You of course need people to be able to execute these checklists and procedures. As well, you need commissioning project managers and commissioning leads to oversee activities, review testing, and make sure that everything is happening in the right sequence. You may be able to hire experienced commissioning individuals, but if not, then you may need to train them so that they understand and know what they need to do on your project to execute or oversee commissioning. The eighth task to complete is to develop your turnover packages. So through each stage of commissioning, there's lots of information that's being created, and all of this gets compiled and collated into turnover packages that get turned over at the end of the project. There's likely a turnover package for each system, but that can also be grouped at a higher level where a turnover package is developed for each plant area or plant process. If you've used your commissioning software correctly, it significantly helps to generate turnover packages at the end of your project, rather than the old way of having your summer student review a pile of documents and compile them into turnover binders as it used to be done in the past. Then the ninth task to complete to get ready for your commissioning is to take a deep breath and get ready for the action that's going to take place once on-site testing starts. All of the tasks that we mentioned here earlier are required to take place in advance of on-site testing, because once on-site testing commences, there's really no time to prepare. Everything moves very fast, days are very busy, and you need to focus strictly on execution of your checklists and completing of your commissioning procedures rather than doing all this development at the same time. So get ready for busy and dynamic days of on-site testing, and they really are the best days of the project, where we're starting up equipment for the first time and seeing systems function for their intended purpose for the first time, and some of those startup days are truly the best days on the project. So as I mentioned earlier, the best time to plan all these activities is at the beginning of your project, but reality is that maybe didn't happen, and you've got to get this all done in a very short amount of time in the next few months. Maybe your on-site testing is starting in 5 months from now, and you've got a lot to do here in the next 5 months to be ready for when mechanical completion packages are ready and to be ready for on-site testing. So there's definitely a lot to do in a short period of time. And if you're new to commissioning, then you might need some guidance to be able to pull this off rapidly without wasting any time and starting in 2 months from now. Our rapid setup consulting services might be exactly what you need. You don't have time to figure this all out. You need to get busy now so that there's no delays once on-site testing starts. And you don't want to try and figure this out for the next 2, 3, 4 months before getting any progress on it. You need progress now so that you're ready in the short amount of time that remains. So I don't know if our consulting services are a good fit for you or not, But when you book a call, we can have a short discussion and we can see exactly how we're able to help you prepare for your on-site testing that starts very shortly in the next few months. If you go to icxa.net/start, you'll see our consulting services option. Tell us a little bit about your projects and then book a call and we can have a quick discussion to see how we can help you prepare for commissioning as fast as possible so there's no delays on your project. So I trust you found this helpful in this quick overview of the 9 things that are required to prepare for commissioning in a very short period of time. And if you'd like any help getting ready for commissioning, then please book a call and we can have a quick chat. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. To become a member of the Industrial Commissioning Association, visit icxa.net. Members get access to commissioning standards, procurement specifications, commissioning training and certification, plus many more specialized resources to help you with commissioning of your industrial plant process and energy systems. Visit icxa.net for more information.